Yes guys, how's it going? Welcome back to a new video. Welcome to deadline day. That's right, the final day, the final 14, 15 hours of this transfer window following constant reports, rumours, Mark Gahey sagas. Eddie Howe's done his press conference this morning ahead of the Spurs game on Sunday, and it's fair to say I don't think he was asked a single question about the Spurs game. Every single game related to transfers, Mark Gahey, PSR, relationships with the owners, Paul Mitchell, Joe Willock injury, and Eddie Howe asking for the club to be united and for everyone to stick together. So we're going to get into all of that in this video. Be sure to drop a like and subscribe if you haven't already. I mentioned that last time and loads of you guys dropped a like and it helped the video really push further forward. So if you've not subscribed, be sure to do so. We'll be at the game on Sunday. Who knows if we'll have a new player in time. Eddie Howe did say we still have time left and that it's possible that something could happen. However, the general conversation of the interview was very much down the line of it isn't going to happen. I think if anything did happen, in my purely fan-based opinion, would probably be another goalkeeper. I think if anything, I think it would possibly be the Burnley youngster that Newcastle bring in. Eddie Howe was asked about goalkeepers in that current situation on the fact that Dubravka was wanting to leave, and Eddie Howe kind of pushed it all aside and went, oh, no, we're all good. We're good on the goalkeeper front, and there's nothing to say that Dubravka is going to go. So, like, even that conversation, what seemed to be one of the dead certs that would happen this summer would be that Dubravka would leave the football club, hasn't happened. And we've brought a whole load of other ones in. Now we've now got 5 goalies, and none of them are good enough to be the backup to Nick Pope. So there's one thing that's been spoken about. He was asked about the Mark Gahey situation, understandably, and he said that he didn't want to comment on a single player. However, he was asked whether it was one line of inquiry, whether Newcastle would literally just chase in Mark Gahey or whether there was multiple players that we went for. He said that there was several targets throughout this window. He actually went on to say that if Newcastle wanted to, so well, don't take that verbatim as a quote, but effectively, in my opinion, he said if Newcastle wanted to, we could have signed a handful of players. But whether they were the right ones or at the right price is what is the difference, which is kind of understandable. We could go on and we could go buy 5 John Ruddys if we wanted to, but that's not what the club wants to go ahead. The club wants to go out, buy the right players for reasonable prices. And I get that. It's frustrating to hear him say, oh, we could have gone out and bought more players, but we didn't. It's like, right, well, maybe we should have then, rather than leaving us. And look, obviously will be tentative as to how I go on in this video, because there is still a day left and there is still a possibility that we could pull out a last minute loan deal, right winger, centre back. Something could happen, as I've mentioned. And in fact, the press conference itself this morning was delayed because of the fact, well, it's thought to be that him, Darren Eales and Phil Mitchell, who were all spotted at the training ground this morning, were basically having a last dash transfer talk this morning ahead of going into this interview. So as I mentioned, he basically said that Newcastle could have gone and signed players, but because they weren't the right player, they weren't the right price, we couldn't do it. PSR was just non-stop. I mean, he was actually asked, quite, as I say, it was a bit of a bloodbath, if I'm perfectly honest. Nothing was really about the Spurs game. It was all about the transfers. He was asked if he felt like the vision that PSR had, the PIF, the Newcastle owners, had put down when they took over, saying that they wanted to be number one, they wanted to push on, and the fact that Newcastle haven't really delivered in a couple of transfer windows what would be a star-studded name or a clear signing, especially in this window. Have they not hit the objective, or have they let the fans down? I mean, that's a pretty big question for Eddie Howe to answer, and obviously he didn't. He said that he wouldn't want to speak on behalf of the owners. However, the landscape has changed, and that the time when the club was bought, the idea of PSR and whatever the other acronym is, wasn't really as such highbrow, and it wasn't quite so obvious that it would be such a big thing leading in. I mean, the thing that I would challenge Eddie Howe on with that one is that I do agree that PSR is something that has happened to us. I agree that they spoke about player trading and how Newcastle need to do better at player trading. Look, these players are fine, and it looks like they're staying. I mean, by all means, Miggy, I thought had a reasonable game in the midweek against Nottingham Forest. I think that's a player who's either in the shop window or desperate to not be in the shop window, because I thought he actually did all right. But we've got to be better. Got to get Miggy out. If Trippier's going to go, get him out. Get the money in. Darren Neal said they would focus heavily on player trading. These players don't want to go. Newcastle is, and this is me trying to be kind, Newcastle are, outgrowing certain players in the squad. We need to not just make room, but you need to pull money in to be able to spend other money. And you thought that the Minty and the Anderson would help us this window. I think what that did was save us from the last window, or the last time round. We need to start again and do it this window. But the thing I will challenge Eddie Howe on is that I agree that PSR has been tough. But we were linked with 70 million Mark Gahey. And it would appear that Newcastle were fully invested into paying that money. And it could be that it happens today. Now, and if that happens, then I've got to question that PSR kind of get out clause. Because I appreciate that PSR is a thing and Newcastle have to stick to it. And I appreciate that Eddie Howe had multiple options of multiple players who either weren't the right place or weren't the right fit. So I would say that you're trying to use two reasons for why we didn't do it. I think it's one or the other. I think if Mark Gahey was the man who did fit, and the other three, or let's pretend he had three other centre-backs he was linked with, but Gahey was the one. He was the man on Eddie Howe's list. He was the one that he was willing to spend the cash on. If we went and bought Mark Gahey for 70 million, and then had this same, and then we didn't have a right winger, and we didn't have whatever else, and Eddie Howe used PSR as the reason, it doesn't really stack up. I'm not going to say that I don't think PSR is a thing, because it is, but I think throughout the interview that was very much his go-to reasoning, and if that's true and we don't have the money to spend, then why have we been chasing Gahey for the last 3 months for 70 million? So I think Eddie Howe's gone in basically, he didn't come across defensive, I will give him that. I don't think he walked in there and was like, oh my god, I'm under attack. I think he held himself pretty well. He answered the questions amicably and kind of generally gave good answers. I think he did say that, the behind the scenes, the relationships and the staff that he's getting on with. He said that doesn't always mean that things can go the way, and he said that it's, him, the ownership, the behind the stuff, everyone wants to pull in the right direction, and that we need to step forward. And he's asked for the club, the fans, for everyone to be united as we go into the new season, which, I stand by. He was asked if he thinks the squad is better now than it was before the start of the window, and he said yes. But then he also followed that up very quickly by saying, because I want to be positive, and I want to be positive going into the new season. I mean, that is the least, the least confirmed yes, you're going to get, really. It's basically like, no, but I'm not allowed to say no, because that's negative and I have to be positive. I mean, Tonali's huge, but as Eddie Howe has said in his own press conferences, you can't call Tonali a new signing because he isn't, and by doing so is like letting us get away with it. You know what? I think if Newcastle had lost against Forest and Tonali hadn't played well, I think today would have been even more negative than possibly it is already. And as I say, I don't want to say it, but Tonali was fantastic on Wednesday, and he will be an improvement for our squad. I think you could take the broader view of the likes of Livramento, Hall, players that were signed a while ago, and then you could say, we're poor signings because they didn't impact us quick enough. Well, hopefully now those signings will impact us, and Hall will start, Livramento will start, Tonali will start. I think Asula's a youngster who will hopefully run the channels for us. Willock getting injured is big, and Eddie Howe said as much. He said it's a huge blow, so it's not being confirmed exactly how long he's injured for, but it sounds like we may well have lost, a very good player in that position as well. So I'm going to end it there. I'm going to take me big sip of tea. I'm going to head into work. I'm going to get some job done without trying to refresh Twitter quite too much, and pray that we might see something before this window ends. But if I'm honest, I think next time you'll see me, we'll probably on my way up to the ground on Sunday for the Spurs game. But if something does change, if something does happen, I will be on to talk about it. So once again, if you haven't subscribed, be sure to do so. Thoughts down in the comments on everything discussed in this video. Eddie Howe, Willock, Tonali, transfers, Gahey, PSR, Darren Eales. It's all out in the open today. I think it will be. It was a bloodbath for Eddie Howe in that interview. I think it will be on Twitter and social media as well. Thanks for watching, guys. Enjoy your Friday if you can, and I'll catch you later.